In today's video, I'm gonna show you how to never lose money again woodworking. So we recently made a docking station documentary on how one of my products did over $2.5 million in sales. And we've gotten tons of questions and comments of how we ended up with the price for that product and how much profit we made from it. So in today's video, I'm gonna go over all the different stages of how we price all of our products in my company and how you can apply them to your company as well, so you never lose money again woodworking. Let's go. So the first step to make sure you never lose money woodworking is knowing what the minimum you can charge is in the first place, and that's called a break even. Because why would you want to waste your time on a project you can't make money on anyways? That's why I've made a formula. This right here is the only formula that I've ever used for my business to sell my products, and it's guaranteed me to never lose money and actually be profitable in my woodworking company. What this formula entails is labor plus materials plus machine costs plus overhead plus fees equals break even, and that is on a per unit basis, starting with labor. When I first started in my woodworking journey, it was just me charging for my time with whatever I wanted to make an hour. And then as the woodworking business grew, I was able to hire 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 employees, and that helped my business grow. And now I have over 40 employees spread out across 2 companies. Check out freocoolers.com. I've learned how to manage employees, how to handle them, how to leverage them, and even have a little playful banter with them. So let's go talk to one of them right now. Brian, office now. Sit down. Brian, so I want you to know, man, you've been doing a damn good job here, man, and we decided to give you a raise.
Really?
No, not at all. No, I was joking the entire time, but you should have seen the look on your face. So how we calculate labor is time times the wage equals labor. Now, what is involved in time? It's typically the hours worked, and when I calculate this time, it's the hours worked at a normal pace, not a frantic pace, at a very normal pace. Then I multiply that times a slack time, potty breaks, people tying their shoes, people doing other things beside working on the thing they're supposed to be working on. And trust me, 25% is probably low, but we like to do 25% slack time. Then you multiply that times the wage. The wage is simple, it's your hourly rate. You're either charging for your time or you're paying somebody else, times the unforeseen cost, and that unforeseen cost is typically about 30% for most businesses. What that 30% is your holiday pay, your breaks, any of the time off, all your taxes you have to pay because you employ people, your taxes you're gonna pay at the end of the year. That's why we have that 30% there. I've talked to a lot of people in the industry, trust me, it's 30%. So that means if you are paying somebody $10 an hour, they really cost $13 an hour because of that 30%. So for the man stand, it took us 45 minutes, which is 0.75 hours, to fully router, sand, stain, and ship out that product. Our wage, we were roughly paying is $14.60 an hour. So that $14.60 in wage is accounting for that 30% unforeseen cost, because these were W-2 employees that I had to pay taxes on, stuff like that. So that's why it's $14.60, though our hourly rate per employee was actually lower than that. It was around $12 an hour, something like that. And with all of that accounting for, the labor on the man stand is $11. And next is materials. So this is the material right here that we use to make the man stand, and it's very important to calculate your material cost in any project that you're making, whether it's plywood, hardwood, you're using a lot of epoxy. It's very important that you get those costs and know them. Now, what's not important and something I would not stress over is like the cost of sandpaper or the cost of glue, or sometimes even the cost of stain to stain some of these products. Those costs are so minimal, it's more important for you to focus on these material costs and know them and work on getting them lower. Because for instance, this thing right here used to cost me like $30 a sheet, and now you can't find it for under $100 a sheet. Crazy. So it's more important to know how to source the material and keep that price consistent than really worrying about the cost of sandpaper and the cost of like rags or something like that. So the material cost is a relatively simple calculation. It's just your cost of materials divided by the units produced from those materials. So at the time, we were paying $30 for a sheet of plywood, and we were able to produce 20 units from that sheet of plywood. So material cost for that was just $1.50 per unit. Now, this is a known cost because we already had the materials. If you're ever quoting a job and you don't know exactly what that material cost is gonna be, I personally like to go 30% over on the material cost. And some people even like to put a buffer in there because they're gonna mess some stuff up or it's not gonna be perfect wood, etc. But I was using plywood that was perfect every time, so I didn't have to have that cost buffer included in my material cost. And after materials, we got machine cost. So whenever we talk about machine time, it's the time you're using these bigger machines right here behind me because they have a high cost, so therefore their hourly rate is really high. I'm not talking about stuff like this. This sander technically is a very minimal cost, so you're not gonna have to like calculate how much it costs to use this sander, right? In business, we call these capital assets, so you wanna look at like your cost of your capital assets. So if you have a $2,000 CNC, that would be considered a machine that you want to calculate machine time on, but anything that's minimal, don't worry about it. It's not that necessary. And so if you're just using hand tools, don't have to worry about machine time. But if you do have bigger machines like this, $1,000 and up, I would worry about calculating machine costs because they do have a value and you do have to buy these. They do break down, they do have repairs, and they do consume a lot of electricity. And the interesting thing about my shop, since I have so many machines and they're so expensive, that a lot of my product cost is in machine time now. It wasn't back in the day, but it is now. And so I know that if these machines are running and producing product, I know that the company is going to be making money. And if they're sitting idle like this right now in the middle of a workday, I might not be making as much money as I should be because I have so much of my costs based on these machines producing product for my company. The formula for this is a little bit weird and it gets more complicated the bigger you get. So let's go check it out. This right here is the easiest way to calculate machine cost. So you take the present value, so what you bought it for, you add what you think it's gonna cost to replace that machine, then you divide that by the useful hours you think you can use that. My CNC machine, I'm estimating that it's gonna work for 5 years and I'm gonna use it 2,000 hours per year. So that's gonna be a total of 10,000 hours right there. You add those two up, divide it by that, and then you multiply it over here. I like to add a little percentage for wear and tear and repairs. Now you don't have to worry about bit cost or if a belt ever breaks or anything ever breaks on your machine, you can replace it because you're already factoring that into your hourly rate. After producing the docking station, and since we can produce 6.5 docking stations an hour, the actual machine cost is relatively low, coming in at only 25 cents a docking station is our machine time. So the next one that's super important is overhead. So what is overhead? Well, if you look behind me, you gotta make it somewhere, and there's a cost to making all of those things, and overhead is extremely hard to calculate because depending on what business you're in or where you're at in life or where you're at in what stage of your business, it's all gonna be very dependent on how you calculate that overhead. For instance, if you're working in your garage right now, you may have very low overhead compared to me, which I'm working in this giant barn right here behind me. When I first started out, I was working in my parents' horse barn. That was very low overhead. Even though I did pay them rent, I didn't look at stuff like taxes and insurance and stuff like that also went into overhead. Overhead is a very complicated thing to calculate because everybody's situation's different, but you just know that this right here is not free and you have to calculate the cost of all of this into each and every product that you have. Despite all the complexities of overhead and exactly what overhead is, this is the formula that we used at the time to calculate our overhead per unit. And what overhead is for the most part is all of your unforeseen costs a lot of times, which is your insurance, your property taxes, your electricity, your rent, sometimes your salaried employees if they're not on the shop floor, your administration, all of that stuff comes into factor in your overhead. So how we calculated it is we added up all that and divided it by the units we are making per month to figure out how much that overhead was costing us per unit. Super simple, super easy, but there are 1,000 different ways to calculate it, but make sure that you know that these costs should be included in the ending cost of your product because they do matter even though you do not regularly think about them. You're typically only thinking about labor and materials. So for us, since we were producing over 2,000 man stands a month, our overhead was only $5.25 per man stand. And last but not least is those nasty fees. So the next thing you gotta think about is your fees for whatever platform you're selling on. Some of you may have 0 fees. Some of you may just have credit card fees, which the average credit card fee is about 3.5%. At the time I was on Etsy and they were charging around 5% fees. Now it's around 10% all in all for Etsy if you're selling on there. So at the time for my docking station, a 5% fee based off of my end selling price was about $2. So whenever you add all of these together, our break-even cost to make and sell this product was $20. So the question becomes, if I was able to make this all in for $20, how was I able to sell it for $40 plus shipping? Let's go ask some of my employees. Let's ask some people some questions. All right, Miranda, got a question for you. Why do you think we can charge $40 for the man stand when it only cost us $20 to make? So why do you think we can charge $40 for it?
Because of the product and quality of what we put into it.
The man hours on it, how much work it goes into it. I mean, cutting it out on the CNC costs money. Running on a small CNC to engrave it costs money.
I take it because all the work that gets put into it, manpower.
Profit. You got to make profit off your items, don't you?
Good answer. Good answer. So guys, this is my wife right here. So Madeline, why do you think we can charge $40 for the man stand when it only costs us $20 to produce it?
We have different options. We offer different stain colors. We also offer all the personalization aspects as well that a lot of other companies don't. And it's just unique and it's a good gift.
There you have it, folks. So as you can tell, there's lots of different answers of why you should charge what you charge. So the long and short of it is, all of them are correct. There's never really a rhyme or reason for pricing the way you are. I mean, Robert was probably the most correct because you want to make money, but there's a lot of different factors that go into pricing, whether it's branding or prestige. All of these different things come into factor when you're pricing, but as long as you make sure you're not losing money, you're always in the good. Now that I'm running a business and I want to grow this business, I have to buy new equipment and I have like ups and downs and I have 40 employees I got to take care of. For my pricing strategy alone, I got to make sure I'm making 20 to 30% margin on everything I'm doing, or it's not even worth looking at. But if you're a hobbyist and you're just doing this for fun, maybe you only need to make 10% margin to pay for, you know, the next piece of equipment you need. Or maybe you don't need to make anything at all because you're just doing this for fun. That's okay. But make sure you're not doing it and losing money. And that's why break even is so important. Whatever your pricing strategy is, just make sure you're above break even. That's really all I have to say, because you don't want to work really, really hard and lose money at the end of the day. I mean, nobody wants to do that. So make sure you cover all of your costs. Now for the docking station in particular, I was just told by a guy whenever I was 19 years old, hey, you need to just double it. And so that's what I did. I was making that thing for $20. I figured out all my costs. I literally have spreadsheets and spreadsheets and papers of like how that cost is broken down, like down to the penny. I just doubled the price of it and it ended up being like 40 bucks. Now I tried $60 at one point just to see if I could do it, and I sold almost nothing compared to what I was doing at $40. And then I wondered, could I sell more at $30? And so I moved it down to $30, and I realized that I actually sold more at the $40 price point than I did at 30, and then I did at 60. So I figured $40 was a happy medium, so that's the price I kept it at. As my business evolved, I got more sophisticated, and now I got my pricing down to a pretty good pricing structure. But depending on the business you're in, like Apple, I mean, they have put like 90% margins on it. Is there a reason why? Well, probably because they have a monopoly on it and Android really can't compete, but that's a different story. So just make sure that you're charging what you think you should charge, what margin you want, depending on where you are in your business, where you're at in life. Just make sure you never lose money, because that's what we're here to do. Not lose money, have fun woodworking, and grow your business. So thank you guys for watching this video. Do not forget to like and subscribe. We're trying to get to 100,000 subscribers by the end of the year, by December 31st, 2023. And if you're watching this video in 2024 and we haven't hit that mark, definitely be sure to like and subscribe. And if we have hit it, also like and subscribe. It's totally helpful and it helps our channel tremendously. I hope this video left you with more knowledge than when you started. Thank you so much for supporting us. And remember, if you ain't cutting it close, you ain't cutting it right. That better be in the bloopers, because that was not planned. What the actual...